Morning. So we're starting out with Forest City Valley, and in this video I'll be showing you how to do base painting of a terrain. So when we first load the terrain, this is more or less what it looks like. We've done a little bit of painting here, looks like, and apparently a little bit of editing of the edge. I can see some work has been done here already. So you're not in a completely raw zone, which I thought it was, so I'm a little bit surprised, but not entirely. So we have a shoreline here, and we'll do some terrain editing on that later. But the shoreline is what you need to know at first. I'm going to go to my fastest speed so we can see everything. Try to get over here to this edge. Okay, this is the edge that will match up if it will finish loading. Yeah, we're not there yet. Okay, come on. We need to get all the way to the edge of where it matches up to Saloy. It'll be the Saloy edge. I think this is it right here. Yep, because here's where our little river matches over to Saloy, and so we can see where that goes. Looks like it actually should probably come down through here. Anyway, then it matches up there. And so when we smooth this out, I'm going to have to, sorry, compulsion, can't help it. I'm going to smooth this. We use just the averaging tool and smooth that out. And so we'll have, this looks like this is kind of going to be a cliff face area here. It's pretty steep right here off the bank. This whole edge will actually be, primarily most of this work will be done when we seam the zones together. So don't spend a whole lot of time on the edge. But when you get to the middle, then yeah, that's where all the work is going to be. So you'll smooth, these can all be smoothed out. It's not going to be a sharp edge. I just really wanted to show you that. Look, it's not going to be sharp forever, don't worry. Okay, so what we're really doing here today though is I want to show you how to paint the ocean. See, we have this ocean here. So we're going to grab, we have our paint tool, and I push that on the paintbrush. I am going to make my paintbrush humongous. See how that works? That's about 135. When you get out in the deep ocean, you can have a paintbrush the size of about 300 or 400, because we're just going to do large swaths of painting. So I'm going to press the Alt button, and I'm going to pick up that same texture that's on the ocean floor there, and so that's it, and we're just going to paint all the way up to the edge of our coastline here, which has been painted for us, or clipped out for us. So that was going to be the first step, is you have to find the coastline, but the coastline has been found. So you can just start with painting, and you just go right up to the edge of the coastline. Don't go inland too much. And then here you can see you can paint giant swaths here. Looks like it's been painted down, see there? So we're going to follow the coast. And we're just going to do the seabed in an initial layer of sand. And that's what our sand will be like. So this is our ocean sand. It's not matching up. Why is it like that? I want it to be, it's all sideways. So, I get to teach you a new thing. So instead of it's sideways, we want it to face correctly. Well, I think this is the wrong sand. Let me go ahead and grab a new sand texture. And we'll use that one because it will have the sand sound with it too that came with the game. So we click on the Assets tab here, and then under the Assets we find the Textures folder, and then in the Textures folder I want to see more pictures than that. We have desert sand. That's not what I'm looking for. I have to find the right one. I'm just scrolling down here on the side, clicking one scene at a time here. And there's Lev dirt. Oh, I might have to just Lev sand. There it is. Okay, so we want that one. And let's see if it's facing the right way for us. It is. Look at that. Okay, because when the ocean beats up against the shore, it's flat against the shore. It's not perpendicular. So I don't want that to be perpendicular. So we're doing it like this. So I'm going to paint over top of all that area where I had the perpendicular sand, and I'm going to fix that. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to fix all this too. Let's see how it changes. I want that all fixed so it's facing the right way. So we just paint over top of it to fix it, and I have to make sure we're at 100% opacity when we're painting over top of something, otherwise there will be a little hint of it left underneath. And it is at 100%, and I'm just left click and point, and we cover this whole area and paint over top of all this as far as we can see out here. I'm not going to go beyond my sight of the shore, but I am going to paint all this here. And we'll go back and we'll do some detail painting under there later. Don't worry about that right now. Right now we're just doing the base painting. This is like your gesso coat on your canvas. This is a base paint, and this is what you'll lay everything else on top of. Later we'll paint in some coral reefs in the ocean, and we'll paint in some forest and rocky mountains and stuff on the hills. Right now we're just base painting the zone. And so here's how we do the ocean. And there's plenty of ocean to paint, don't worry. I'm not going to do all of it for you. You can have lots to paint. And we just left click and we cover over all this here. And I'm going to try and cover over everything that I can see here. I just have this at 500 meters visibility on the far plane. You can go farther if your processor can handle more. Mine can't very well, so I don't. Can't handle that much because I don't have that much memory. So I just paint over all this. We'll follow along the shoreline here, just like so. And I might be missing some little spots. We'll catch those later when we do detail painting, hopefully. People don't inspect the ocean floor too much, but we do paint it, and it so that when players do see it, it will look right. Hopefully it will look at least believable. If not, you know, it's not going to look perfect, but it will. It's part of the world. And there will be sharks and whales and reef fishes and mackerel and tuna and other kinds of fish out there for them to catch too. So there will be reasons for the players to be out in the ocean in boats and sometimes swimming. We have oysters. We already have the model for the oysters. We have a model for the mackerel. We have a model for a couple of kinds of sharks. We have hammerhead sharks and I think tiger sharks. And we have dolphins already. In fact, the dolphins are available as a mount, so they can ride the dolphins. And so we do have some things that the players will be in the ocean with them. So here we go, and that's how we do the base painting of the sea floor. Now I want to show you a little bit how far out this goes. So I don't know how far this has been painted already. maybe you're already half done. I don't know, you might be lucky. You might not have to do too much. But I want to show you, this goes a very, very long way out. Yeah, there's a lot of this that's already been done. There's another ledge, taking it down deeper and deeper. That's going to be in another video, so apparently you won't have to do too much in this zone because it's already been made deep, or at least somewhat deep. And then it goes way over here. I have to wait for the terrain to load, sorry. It's a lot of ocean out here, and so we'll just have to paint all of it. And so you can get, when you get out here, you can get your paintbrush huge, really huge, so you can do large areas at a time. It hates it when I paint over. When you do this, of course, it's going to make a really huge SVN commit also, because you'll have all these changed files, because you've touched all these files and you've modified them, and so now then the upload is going to be huge. But it gets our SVN and our game working all right. Now I'm lost. I don't remember. Okay, there. See, I use that edge that we made to help me figure out which way is home. So this way is home. Home to the shore. There's another ledge that we've got going here. And now I have to be careful with my really huge paintbrush because I can make really huge mistakes next to the shoreline there. You really need a bigger visible distance with this. I'll take it up to 700. I hope I don't crash. So here's our deep shore, and you can see that little line over there. That's our next to the terrain shore. This is all ocean out here. These are ocean ledges, and everywhere these little ledges we could have, you know, little reefs and reef fishes and things like that out here. There are a lot of, I'm going to reduce the size of my brush some here because it's kind of big for this close to the terrain, close to the shoreline work. So just clicking, and it's just a left click and paint. You just point your brush where you want it to go while you have to left click and hold, of course, left click and hold. When we go back to, some of that shoreline is going to be rocky. It's not all going to be sand, but for now it's just sand. This is base painting. We're not doing detail painting yet. We'll go back and do detail painting after we do the base painting. Remember, this is your gesso. You'll do your masterpiece after you paint the base paint. We're creating a canvas to paint on. I know it looks like it's already base painted. The terrain creator does create a little bit of I mean, it puts this sort of brown grass everywhere, but it's not what you want. So that's how you base paint the ocean. I need to see this. We have to be careful of little patches like that. Those aren't good. You might find them later. You just fill them in when you find them. So then we also want to base paint our mountains. Now we can do grass on the shore, and then we'll want to do more of a mountain, the ferns in the mountains. So we have to come back to our assets tab. I'm trying to get back over here where the grass was, because I had some grass here at least. And we can pick up the grass. And we can paste paint some grass around here. And again, this can all be painted over again later with more detail. Try not to paint over our blue there because we know that matches up to something on the other side. So we're just going to paint over the grass. So now this is base painting the land. And again, I just picked up the texture with the Alt button like this, just Alt to pick it up. And we can do some down here. I'm going to need a smaller brush again, so I use the slider bar here. I can either use the slider bar or I can type it in if I want a really specific size. And I'm going to slide it down. And then more. Come here and some base painting through here. And I want it bigger again. You just sort of switch back and forth. Whatever saves the most time is what we're looking for. And come here, so we have this valley over here on the back side of that mountain. Quite a big valley it looks like, so we can make that pretty big. Anyway, you can come through. I know you want some work to do, so I'll let you paint the valley. And then the other texture we want to find for the mountains. There's a couple of different ones. If we have a lot of trees, we use the one called litter. And that, I think it's that one. Let me make a really small area here and go down and have a look. Should show me when I get close. One of these will have pine cones on it. It's not that one. So pine needles. And those are too big, so I'll have to show you how. Okay, pine needles has the ferns, so that's the one we want. But look how huge those are. Those are gigantic. Those are like mammoth needles. So what we want to do is we want to change the size that the texture displays. And we do that here on the scaling. And first I want to scale it with what I've already painted. So I click this little button here and I can shrink it. And that's where I've already painted it. And I want it small. That might be too small. So we'll try 2.3. That looks okay. Then I unclick the button and I can continue painting with it, and that'll come through here, and we'll just paint over some of the grass. And so everywhere that is, there will be ferns. And so that was the other texture that I wanted to show. So we've got it now, and I'm going to paint over everywhere there will be trees. So I can make this a little bit bigger now. So it has pine needles and ferns, and so that's what we want. And when we come back, we can paint the rocks in too. These rocks that are painted here, I'm trying to preserve them some, but that's really detail painting. This base painting needed to be done first, and then you can go back and paint the rocks for this very reason. In order to get it in there, we end up covering over some of the rocks. And so it just, base painting comes first, detail later. If you do the detail, you mess up your base. Or if you do the detail first, it gets messed up when you go back and do base painting. So anyway, so this is why we want to do the base painting first. And we just go through and we click through. We paint all this. And this is a little valley here, so I don't know if we want ferns through there, or maybe we want grass to come through there. And here's some more rocks. This is pretty rocky mountains right here. Might not be a whole lot of trees, but we'll go ahead and we'll base paint some ferns on the top, and then we'll probably end up with a lot of rocks here. Here's a hole. That is something to be very aware of. Players can get trapped in those holes. So even if it is geographically accurate, which I sort of doubt, I really doubt that it is, we want to go through, when we find something like that, we want to fix that. Sometimes we just want to fix that right away. So what I'm going to do, because that looks really odd, I'm going to go to the curve tool. I'm going to adjust the size. I'm on the mountain. I had to click the mountain, then I chose the curve tool. Now I'm adjusting the size of my paintbrush here. I'm going to try and get it in the center of that and raise that up, because that hole seems to go all the way down to sea level. So what probably happened is that was a white spot, or a black spot, not a white spot, but a black spot on the digital image from the terrain data when we originally created the terrain. And if there was just a black spot there, it would do something like that. That's okay. It's coming up. So the black spot goes down to sea level, so that's very typical of what we would see if there's any anomalies in our digital terrain. Alright, now I gotta get that smaller because it's not pulling it up around the edges. We don't want players stuck in a hole. That's not right, especially if it's not geographically relevant. So we have to fix that. Those kind of things need to be fixed right away, because you just never know when someone's gonna wander over here and get themselves trapped. I consider those to be emergency hazards, so I fix them immediately, even before I finish whatever it was I was doing. And we'll just pull that up all around there. You have to smooth some of this out. That's okay. So we do have the terrain from satellite data at 90 meters resolution, but obviously it's not perfect, right? So we try to keep it geographically relevant, but it's not going to be geographically accurate. It's just relevant. This is why I use those terms, because they're not perfect, they're just close. There we go. Now if I would have used the averager tool first, it would have flattened my mountain here. That's why I had to pull it up with the curve tool first. We would have had a big flat hole down at sea level, and that's not what I wanted. So I had to pull it up with the curve tool first, then I could fix it with the averager tool afterward, which I need to do again because now it's making weird cliffs. But so now it looks better. It's not perfect exactly, but it is better, and there's no hole there anymore for people to get lost in. All fixed. Now I've smoothed it out a little. I'm going to soften the strength of that smoothing, because I don't want it flattened, I just want it smoothed. Alright, that looks good. Okay, now we can go back to painting, and we can make our paintbrush a little bigger. Do large swaths like this. And then we want to go back to, see, we'll want the grass, so we do the Alt, pick up the grass. There it is. Okay, and we bring up this here along the shore. and up a little ways into the mountain. So the grass touches basically your tree things, and then we'll bring rocks over to the details. And so everything is base painted. We don't want to see any more brown when we're done with the base painting. That brown creation texture should not be showing anymore when we're done with base painting. So that's the goal, is to get rid of all the brown and have everything base painted. And when you get down to the shoreline, obviously you're going to have to do some more. There's that 777 again. And we'll just bring it down like this. And it's not going to be grass all the way down to the shoreline. We'll put in some nice beach sand there when we get to that point for detail painting. But for now, we just want to do the base painting. You could do ocean sand there, I guess. But I'm just trying to mark where the terrain is, where the land meets the sea. And that's why I do it like this. So I think that shows well enough. Then you always want to save your work. And this is going to take a long time to save because I have painted huge areas of the terrain without saving in between. So we're going to see this for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video now so you don't have to sit here and watch the little wheels turn. And you can carry on.